what the trend that I've seen is uni, early 20s, 100%. I see that all of the girls, all of my friends, we were all choosing that, exactly what you've just said there. But I think when we're settling down, that really starts to change. Even I've seen with the rest of my single friends, just everyone did have a type and they were going for this certain attractive person that they wanted, and now it's more, okay, no, I'm trying to be more open-minded. I'm gonna try and match with people that aren't my type. I'm hearing more and more that I am really trying to find a nice guy and try and drop this because I keep going for the same wrong people. So I do completely agree, and I definitely fell into that myself. But I really think that was like early 20s, and then when you're trying to get more serious, I think it does shift a little bit in your brain.
Sure, that makes sense. Something else that shifts that I've noticed is this 50-50 stuff.
Yeah.
The older a woman gets and the more she's considering settling down, having a family, the less she wants to be 50-50.
Yeah.
I actually had it, she's going to laugh because she'll watch this. I had a guest on 3 months ago who she was like, she wants to be the breadwinner. She wants to provide for the man, all of this stuff.
We should be friends.
Right? And she was, I think she was 28 at the time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I hear you saying that now, but I was like, I think that might change.
Yeah.
She was like, no, this is what I want, etc.
Yeah.
She came back on again a month ago. She was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. She's 29 now.
Okay.
Absolutely not. She was like, I'm not going to be providing for a guy. If I have to provide for him, I think he's a bum, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but I suspect that with your friends who are, like you said, they're quite cool 50-50.
Yeah.
I think that the more they get closer to wanting to settle down and choosing a life partner, the more they'll start to lean toward those more traditional conservative values. Yeah,
I can see why. I think especially if you want kids, you've got to think about I've thought about this, if I am the breadwinner, say, which and the other person's ambitious, but they're not making that much money, but they love in what they're doing, there will be a point, because I personally want kids, that what if I do want to step back because I'm bringing up a child, at that point, then it would become an issue, because if you are the breadwinner, that would become an issue.
Well, he's a stay-at-home dad. You can do that.
Same the other way around, but it depends how you feel emotionally. Maybe both of you want the time off. Maybe one person at that point. If you are the breadwinner, I can see how you would have to go back to work, just like a guy has to go back to work if they are the provider. And I can see why when you start thinking about kids more, you're like, oh, I'm going to have time off no matter what to recover. Like, that's non-negotiable. But I could go straight back to work, but I'm going to have to recover. And it would impact the family for a little bit. So there's little things like that to consider. But yeah, I guess it could become an issue for bringing up a family if that's important to you in some areas.
Yeah, I think, look, you may be like 50-50 provider gal through and through all the way. And if you are, happy for you. Do it, kill it, etc. I think that it's interesting how when we're younger, how people date and what they choose.
Yeah.
How that shifts over time depending on what they want.
Yeah.
And especially when there's more at stake. So like, there's a difference between choosing for a boyfriend for uni and then choosing a husband for life.
Yeah, for sure.
And guys see it the same way. There's a difference between choosing a girl for a girlfriend for uni and then choosing a wife who you would potentially die for.
Yeah.
So the standards are much different.
Yeah.
And they are what we would call, I guess, more specific, maybe less open-minded in that sense, because arguably who you choose to spend life with is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make.
Yeah. And
so I think back to the conversation about, you know, whether a guy cares about body count or a girl cares about if a guy has slept with other guys and all this stuff. At the end of the day, it's all preference. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so people are entitled to their preference. Yeah. But I think we can't, even if we disagree with it fundamentally, I'm just saying these are patterns we see pretty consistently.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's all I'm saying.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
I think things are very slowly changing slightly. I think people are talking about
things are going back.
Do you?
I think things are swinging the other way.
Yeah, Yeah, I can see that as well, actually.
Because I see a lot of girls being like, we're not doing 50-50 anymore, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
and guys are like, hold up, you wanted equality, girl. Like, why do you want to not do 50-50?
I see a lot of that. My worry with that is I've come from a divorced family where we had quite a lot of money, and my mum stayed at home. She worked part-time, stayed at home, and I've learned how I can't like disrespect a girl's point of view for wanting to be a stay-at-home mum or something, but because of my upbringing, I can't see any security in that. We've got 50% of divorces. I think 50% of marriages end in divorces these days.
Yeah.
And I've watched my mum do part-time, which has meant she's not got hardly any pension. And then they've divorced, and she'd not kept going in her career as my dad did, and it created a very messy divorce that went on for 10 years because you staying at home or having time off for a kid, there's so many things that I would do. I have got a very regimented way of how I will do it to make sure that 50% of marriages end in divorce. You've got to be protected. If you're taking time off for your kids, whichever side, you've got to be putting into the other person's pension if that pension's going to drop. So if you're taking,
I don't agree about that.
Really?
No.
I think it both ways. I think if there's going to be, if a man's going to raise a child and stay at home, it's a full-time job, and the woman goes back to work, then you need to be putting into their pension.
So she should be putting into his pension, and he's a stay-at-home dad?
100%. That if you're a unit and you're wanting to work together, and someone's going to raise the kid, and you're not lucky enough to have grandparents because they're too old to look after your kid, and you're going to have to, one of you's going to have to take time off, that's a sacrifice you're making for the family. The other person needs to help you.
I understand why you're saying that. So here's the thing. One, there are plenty of single mothers who work.
Yeah.
Right? And they have 1, 2, 3 kids.
Yeah, I feel for them.
And they work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's doable. The second thing is that most households
it's doable,
today,
but it's not. You don't need to do it if you.
No, I wouldn't suggest that path for anyone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest that path for anyone.
No.
Right? But what I'm saying is it's doable. I come from a divorced household as well. So also, nowadays, most households need 2 incomes to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? You know, like the average job back in the day would feed a family of 5, right? Now the average job gets you a house share of 5.
Yeah,
Do you know
scary,
what I mean?
yeah.
So if you are with someone where they earn enough that you don't have to work, that is a luxury.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
That is a privilege.
Yeah.
Like to be in a position where I can choose to work or work part-time and still get to stay at home and like raise my child and etc. I'm not saying that's not work, but that is a very luxurious option that most people do not have.
Yeah.
Right? So if, for example, you take a stay-at-home dad, and he's blessed enough that his woman earns enough, that he doesn't have to work, and then if something goes wrong in the marriage or something, let's say, if he cheated, she's been paying into his pension? Nah, man, screw that. No.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I would say as well, like, people change careers and jobs all the time. Yeah. Right? I think it's like back in the day, 40, 50 years ago, the average occupation someone would have was 1. Now it's like 8 in the average career span. But also, like, you're an able-bodied adult. You can go out and work and earn a living. Everybody can. Everybody does. Wherever you're starting up from. Yeah. Now, that's not saying that we shouldn't have empathy for people who, if they go through a difficult divorce or a breakup and, they do feel they're starting to start from ground zero, right? And I'm not saying we shouldn't have empathy for that. Yeah. That's kind of part of life. People got to start from ground zero all the time. And it's like, if you're saying like, oh, you can't work, then that's different. But if you can, right? And I would say, like, that's the thing. Anything worth having comes at a sacrifice. Like, I think one narrative that really hasn't served a lot of us is that you can have it all and you can't. No, yeah. Because anything worth having comes at a sacrifice. So you might be saying, okay, I'm not saying that you are, but for example, you might be saying, okay, I'm never going to be in the position that my mum was in. 100% understand that. So I'm going to make sure I'm working no matter what. Cool. But the price you pay is time with your child. That's the price you pay. The price you pay is, okay, if you're working and you want an ambitious husband, which means he's probably going to be working too, the person raising your child, at least for the early years, is going to be a babysitter or childminder.
Well, if I'm lucky enough that both of us earn a lot, we'll both be doing 50-50 with the childcare. So I'll have.
Well, if you earn a lot, you won't be working part-time.
Well, as in, we'd have like the first, I'd take 6 months off and they'd have to take 6 months off, or they're going to be paying into my pension, or I'd be paying into theirs. Because at the end of the day, the statistics don't lie. After a divorce, it takes a woman, it's something like 2 times or 3 times long to get back to the financial place that they were at before. And
before what?
When they were together, because they're more financially hit. And that's normally because they've taken time off to raise kids, to raise the children. They've not been working. They've not been putting into their own pension. They've not been building up into their career. So it's going to take them twice as long to get back to a same like level playing field.
When you say the same level, as in the same lifestyle that her husband was paying for?
Well,
when they were together?
Well, maybe the lifestyle that they were at before she had to go and look after kids.
But you're talking about the lifestyle that they were when they were together.
They had, together. Yeah.
Okay, but then
she would have been providing into that as well until having kids, maybe. Like, that's just one statistic, but it's a fact that women are more hard done by in divorces.
That is not even close to being true.
It is. It takes not 2 times true. As it does. It's
okay. Let me ask you a question. Who was awarded the majority of the assets in divorce?
Probably a woman.
Okay. Who was awarded the majority of alimony and support in divorce?
What's that mean?
As in, like, so alimony is like paying for lifestyle or child support, like they're receiving child support.
Woman, because they're normally raising the kids.
Okay, but who gets custody 90% of the time?
Woman, because they're raising the kids.
No, but what I mean is that when it comes to divorce, the courts are heavily biased but I'm talking for the women.
Financially, it takes them twice as long as to recover.
Recover to where though? Like, I'm sorry, but if you're the girlfriend of I'm not saying like wife and girlfriend is different.
Yeah.
If you're the girlfriend of a millionaire, for 5 years, and you break up, why would you expect to be at his level?
Yeah, but that's not the situation that I'm talking about here. The situation I'm talking about is a partnership where maybe a woman has looked after the kids. She's now at a financial disadvantage. This is all coming back to the point of paying into people's pensions and making sure it's fair if you're going to take time off for a child. Yeah, but it still doesn't talk about the woman's career. If she's now on her own, she has to work. Like you said, single women have to work.
Yep.
If they're taking time off, their pensions hit and their careers hit. So it's not just about child support that goes entirely to the child. It's stopped them for a few years.
Okay, sure, but like you can't ask a woman who took 10 years out to raise a family to be in the same position as like.
We're talking about just 2 years of paying into your pension can affect your pension.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm trying to say is like, okay, so here's the thing. In life, there comes choices and trade-offs, yes. Yeah. There's choices and trade-offs.
There's choices and trade-offs, but if you're a family and you're a family unit and you're taking time off to look after both of your child, yes, it's time with that child and that's amazing, but it's also really, really hard work. And it's more, I think it's one of the hardest jobs.
Well, that's why she's awarded most of the assets when the divorce happens.
She's awarded child support to pay for the child that they should be paying anyway. She's looking after the child probably because she's done most of the looking after for a child.
That's an assumption, but sure.
It's an assumption, but you're talking about if they got awarded child custody, that is probably one of the reasons. That because they've been looking after the child most. Yeah.
That's the reason that women are awarded child custody isn't because necessarily they've looked after the child more. Is because the system of divorce and the way it is right now is still predicated on how the laws were 60, 70 years ago. It just hasn't caught up. So for example, it doesn't necessarily take into the account, for example, like a woman's earning potential unless she's earning more than him. So for example, I'll give the OJ Simpson case, right? So top of his profession, top 1% guy, right? Blood, sweat and tears to get to where he was. His wife didn't have to work a day in her life, right? She was at home with the kids, with the mansion, everything. He comes home, finds out that she's been cheating. She divorces him, takes the house, takes the kids, is taking alimony from him while the new boyfriend is moved in, living with the family and they're sleeping together, and he had to move out of his house, right? Now, Chris Rock made this joke. He's like, I'm not saying he should have done it, but he understands. When it comes to divorce, it is like heavily, heavily biased against men. Divorce is the main reason why men over the age of 40 actually commit suicide. That is the main reason. There are men who haven't been able to see their kids, right? Because of the distaste or because of the vengefulness of his ex-partner because it was a messy divorce or whatever, right? I'm not saying that's every case, but the courts are heavily biased towards the woman. And so to say that, I understand, you're absolutely right. If she takes time out to raise a family, that's years taken from her career that she's not built up 100%.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's choices and trade-offs in life.
Yeah, no, and I can understand that divorces, there's a lot of cases where men can't see their kids and stuff, and I've seen it all happening online.
Yeah.
My point is coming back to financially on pensions and career, which is more probably long term. And if you can't pay into the house, then the house isn't. If your partner's still paying into the house, then you can prove that you've paid this percentage of the house.
Yeah, but even if you didn't, that's the thing. Like, do you know what's mad? Okay, this is my place, right? If I had a girlfriend move in and she lived here for 3 years and I'm still paying for everything, then we break up, she's entitled to half.
No, yeah, but that can also be argued in a court of law.
Yeah, but don't you think that's crazy though?
Yeah, it is crazy that, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but then also that's where you need to put boundaries in place to protect your assets.
Well, the only way I'd be able to do that is for her to sign a contract that she's a tenant.
Yeah.
But like, are you gonna? So what, should a man do that with his wife?
Well, or you say that like you need to find out what assets they have, or you ask if you want to move in that this is how much I've put into the house. If you want it as yours or if you want it as a joint partnership, then they need to put something up front. Like,
so if I was going to move like a girlfriend in, I have to say, okay, you need to like, I need 150K for like your half
not
of this
straight
house.
away, but you need to be talking about like your 5 year. Also, you have to have been living together for a certain amount of time.
It's 3 years.
Yeah, so 3 years, maybe you'll be looking at getting something together. You'll sell this money's yours, and then you can put in together for something. Like, there's ways around it that you're going to have to be financially sensible with yourself.
So what I'm trying to express, is that even on the lower level, it's still biased towards the woman.
Yeah,
and it's like that in marriage and divorce.
Yeah,
right.
But it's still a fact that it takes women twice as.
But when you say like twice as long to get to where though, like I don't think to say that, okay, well, we have to stay at the lifestyle that we were at with our partner. Why?
Well, I think especially if you have kids, then.
Because if you're like, okay, well, I'm used to living in a 5-bedroom house with a pool. We're breaking up, but I still expect a 5-bedroom house with a pool.
Yeah, well, like, I'm talking more about career. Like to have a career break, it does affect women. So, and their finances and their pension. I'm not talking about getting back to being rich because your partner was rich. I'm talking about the time off and how it affects a woman having a career break.
So when you say get back to, what are you saying get back to where?
Just where you would have been if you didn't take that. If you didn't take that career break.
I mean, that's not really fair to the other women who didn't take that break though, is it? So if you have a woman who's, let's say she's in a marriage, let's say she's married to a guy and she takes 10 years out to raise her children. And then you have another woman who didn't take those years out, it wouldn't be fair for the woman who did take the years out to get to the same level of the woman who didn't. Well, because the woman who didn't dedicated her career and that's why she's in that position.
But then there would have to been sacrifices on that side.
She would have sacrificed time with her children.
She would have had to have support or been able to afford childcare or have parents that can look after her kids or the husband that taken off. No, like you said, you can't have everything. So
yeah.
So she wouldn't she'd have been in I think a lot of women that don't want to stop with their career breaks, if they had a choice to not do that, they would. But either their partner earns more.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for them to continue to look after the household, or they've got grandparents that can look after, not grandparents, their parents that are young enough to still support them because childcare is ridiculously expensive. There's only certain factors where you can go back to work.
So this is my anecdotal experience from women who I've talked to, because most people are not passionate about their job, right? So from women who I've talked to, that means most people work not because necessarily they want to, because they have to, which is fair enough. When they have kids, if they can have the choice of going back to work full time or going part time because their partner can cover things, or they don't have to work, from the women I've spoken to, they would rather have the choice where they don't have to work and they just rely on their partner, right? Okay. Similar to like the friend that you just said in that sense. Because if women want to,
my friend in that sense is still the breadwinner though.
the one who wants the guy to pay for everything.
She still wants the guy to pay for everything, but she's the one. She's earning a lot more.
Double standard.
It is, yeah, right? But we don't agree with that.
Yeah, I get that.
Hope you really enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full episode where that clip is from, then I want you to click right here where you can watch the full episode. And if you're ready to claim your man today, enroll in my program below, and I'll see you there. Wishing you an amazing day.